Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to discuss some of the things that you should know about the DJI Neo before you buy it. We're going to discuss some of our top 10 concerns about the DJI Neo as stated in the manual that we received yesterday. You can check out yesterday's video on our channel, DJI Flight Footage Leaked. Now the reason that we're doing this video is because we have also come through the manual and we don't want you to be disappointed with your purchase and your expectations of what the DJI Neo is capable of. So if you sit back and relax and listen to these top 10 concerns about the DJI Neo, I think when you purchase it, your expectations will be better. Now, first off, the DJI Neo is not a mini Avata 2. It's nowhere near close to an Avata 2. In fact, it's very similar to the Avata 1 in design and battery size versus the power system. DJI has once again put the maximum size battery on this particular drone's weight class, but we'll get more into that later. Let's go ahead and get started with the top 10 things you should know about the DJI Neo before you buy it. Number one, there will be some flight altitude and distance limits on the DJI Neo using the palm control and the mobile app control. It says on page 15 in the manual that when using palm control and mobile app control, the max flight altitude is 30 meters. That's 90 feet. And the max flight distance is 50 meters, and that's 164 feet. These limits cannot be changed in the DJI Fly app. The following information is suitable for when using the aircraft with the remote control devices. Number two, the maximum wind speed they recommend flying the DJI Neo in is 17.92 miles per hour. Taking consideration where I'm from on the Outer Banks in North Carolina, the average wind speed on the coast is 15 miles per hour. That's only almost 3 miles per hour faster than the average wind speed on the coast. So take that in consideration if you're going to buy the DJI Neo going to a coastal vacation resort or places where you're on the beach or flying in the mountains. And speaking of mountains, it also says in the manual not to take off near dramatic changes in elevation such as cliffs. Because as we all know, as drone pilots, we know that there are updrafts off the end of cliffs and that can cause it to tumble and fall down the cliffside, which I'm expecting we're going to see a lot of with this little DJI Neo. Number three, DJI is advertising an 18-minute flight time for the DJI Neo. That was tested indoors in a no-wind environment, and that's the maximum flight time that they got out of the battery. Our prediction for real-world environments, when you go outside and you fly in weather, anywhere from a 10 to 15 mile an hour wind, you can expect 12 to 13 to maybe 14 minutes, 15-minute maximum. Number four, seeing the footage yesterday, I did notice that there was some robotic movements and not very smooth like some of the other DJI drones. You can expect some kind of jerky movements with the DJI mobile app and the virtual joysticks. And the reason for that is because it is controlled via Wi-Fi from the drone to your smartphone. You connect to that Wi-Fi network, and that's how you're controlling the drone. Historically, Wi-Fi controlled drones are not great. They do have some lag, some delay, and some robotic type of movements to them, and it's not going to be as smooth as the controller. And again, historically, Wi-Fi controlled drones are not great. So I'd recommend upgrading to the controller for smoother videos if you're trying to make cinematic videos. Number five, the DJI Neo has no obstacle avoidance whatsoever. There is a vision sensing system on the bottom of the aircraft, sensing surfaces. If you fly over water, that can also confuse that surface. If you're landing on a solid, textured surface that is stationary, you will be able to perform a perfect landing. But again, there is no obstacle avoidance for the DJI Neo. So that means that any of the modes, the flight modes that you're using, such as active track, focus track, droney, rocket, circle, and helix, and other modes will have no obstacle avoidance sensing. So we're expecting quite a few crashes with the DJI Neo. Number six, compatibility with other remote controls and FPV goggles. And we don't have any information about the box goggles, the cheaper version of the FPV drone goggles that DJI will release coming up. We don't know if they're going to be launched on the day of the DJI Neo. We do hope so, so it will be an option, but we're thinking that it will be compatible with the DJI Goggles 3 and eventually Goggles 2 when enough people complain about it. And it will be compatible with the DJI RC-N3, which is a self-centering throttle stick, so it will not have full manual type of acro control on this drone. Number 7, manual mode on the DJI Neo is not going to perform like acro mode in beta flight for FPV style drones. The DJI Neo will probably have limits on it because it has an extra large battery for the power system, very similar to the Avata 1. It will not perform anything like the Avata 2, so don't expect it to. As long as you have some kind of expectations that are lower for flight performance, that will be great for DJI Neo. Otherwise, if you're expecting high performance and FPV flips and rolls and things like that, it's not going to happen with this type of drone. And those type of maneuvers may get you in trouble with your DJI Neo, cause it to tumble and crash. And that's why DJI has probably put limits on what we call the manual mode. So manual mode is not true acro mode. Number 8, the DJI Neo design. Now this is where we're getting really technical about the specs, what they've laid out as far as the front, the back, the CG, the battery size, the power system, all of this, the 1000 series motors and the 1400 class battery that's on this drone, around 130 grams. Typically we see a much smaller battery. So DJI has again designed this drone around a much larger battery in a smaller format, but that will also cause issues with tumble and being underpowered in windy conditions. If you have more power, you can fly through things like that. For example, with the Avata 2, we've had way less crashes. It has more power. The battery is lowered. It's also centered in the aircraft as well. And the CG is spot on with the Avata 2 for more maneuvers, which the community wanted. Now, again, case in point, we did predict the Avata 1 tumble years ago when the Avata 1 came out, and people called me crazy, but I understand drone mechanics, specifics of the power systems and how those power systems will perform in all types of frame structures and CG applications. It didn't take a rocket scientist to know that the Avata 1 was going to have problems with that large battery and super high up off the center of the gravity of the drone. Now the Neo also does take some design characteristics from the DJI Avata 2. It has that lower battery in the center of the frame, and it is very low CG. It's not sitting up high like the Avata 1, but I expect with the power system on there, they do look like 1000 series motors. And again, it's exceeding the size that we would typically put on our little smaller FPV drones with beta flight and acro mode on there. We usually power up power system, get a 10:1 power ratio on a drone that size, so it will have more maneuverability and less susceptibility to tumble and roll, and what we also call the death spin. Once you get into that death spin, there is no getting out of it usually with a DJI type drone, and you're going to tumble down the cliffside to your DJI Neo's premature death. So with all these design considerations, the much larger battery, the smaller motors, it does have a pretty small airframe. It's not very big. That's also another thing that will cause it to have some crashes or tumble out in real world environment, such as windy conditions around the cliffs and beaches. So you want to be extra careful with your DJI Neo and choose the right day to fly less windy conditions under 17 miles per hour. Number 9 is that you must know that there is no SD card support on the DJI Neo, unlike the DJI Avata 2 and the 1. They have expandable memory options with SD card support. So if you are on a trip, you have to know that the DJI Neo is set to 22 gigabytes of internal storage, which is quickly transferable to your phone or a mobile device. So in most cases, that should be okay, because sometimes I forget my SD card when I'm going to the field to fly, and I think that internal storage is great on all drones. And number 10 is have your expectations in place when you buy the DJI Neo. After watching some of these things in this top 10 list, we'd want you to have kind of a realistic expectation of what this drone is and what it's designed for. I know that it's marketed towards people that have never flown a drone. Maybe it's the gateway to FPV, getting them to buy more accessories like the new transmitter, the Goggles 3, or maybe even the new LCD goggles with the flat panel screen. Maybe they upgrade to an Avata 2 later, and if that's the track that you take to get into FPV, welcome to the hobby. I think you're gonna have a fantastic time. Once you graduate up to something like a 5-inch FPV freestyle drone, you're gonna have a blast. But regardless of which drone you decide to buy, if you already have a bunch of FPV drones, if this is your first drone, or if you just want to grab the Neo for just some simple quick shots, That's kind of what the DJI Neo is designed for. Anybody to just pick it up and make a quick selfie or droney or accompanying influencer drone type shot for those type of videos on YouTube. I think it's going to be great for that. So now that you know some more specifics that came from the manual and what our expectations are, maybe your expectations are a little more sober now before you buy the DJI Neo. Make sure you watch this video to the end. If you did watch this video and you got all that information, now you really know what the DJI Neo is going to be capable of. So I'm expecting that we're going to see a lot of DJI Neo crashes out there in the wild. So stay tuned on YouTube for those Neo crashes. They are coming to a YouTube channel near you. Hopefully not on this one, but we will grab a DJI Neo when they come out and I will review it and I will give you my full and honest commentary on the performance, the video, and the advertised specs that DJI put out there to the community. We'll see if it's all true coming up very soon on the channel. So please do click subscribe and like this video to make it go up in the algorithm so more people can see a sober view of what the DJI Neo may be capable of. I'm Justin Davis. Take care, guys, and I will see you on the next one.